Hi, so this is day 59 of my gluten-free and sugar-free weight loss journey. And today was an interesting day. I'm gonna stop saying difficult because I like say that every video. It's interesting because I'm beginning to notice a little trend, and I read this once before. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of this, but I once read a saying that said, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dine like a pauper, which means eat your main meal of the day for breakfast and most of your calories in the morning. Because as the day goes on, you're usually active during the day, so you're like burning it off. And most people, after a long day, you kind of like sit around in the evening, and that's when most people have their main meal of the day. So they eat a big dinner and they're kind of stuffed and tired. So then they just sit around. And it's like, you know, accumulated as fat. But I have found that when I eat, and I've been eating like my main meal of the day for lunch, I'm just not always hungry in the morning. I've had my main meal for breakfast a couple of times, but normally I'm not that hungry in the morning. But I found that it's true. I'm just not as hungry later on in the day. I found that you pretty much every day have a need for a certain amount of calories, and if you don't get it, you're hungry. So if you have like most of your calories in the morning for breakfast, you're usually not that hungry for more calories during the rest of the day. At least that's what I found interesting. Because today I went to that Indian buffet that I've talked about a lot, and I can't emphasize how much I like it because the food is so healthy. I don't feel guilty eating as much as I want, and I don't eat that much. Usually, again, I'm just being honest, and it's important to be honest with yourself about yourself if you want to change. Because when you're sticking your head in the sand and, oh no, not me, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. And that's really true. And it makes sense. Like, if I wouldn't admit that my faucet was leaking, how could I fix it if I'm not even going to admit that it's leaking? If I'm just going to deny it and pretend it's not there and just put down towels, and that wouldn't do anything. I fixed it. So I have to admit that I got to be 100 pounds overweight through a combination of eating a lot of carbs, being addicted to sugar, not moving that much, and overeating. I never consider myself an overeater because I don't eat a lot in one sitting, but I eat too much for my activity level. I mean, that's a form of overeating. If I'm just going to kind of not do that much, I shouldn't eat that much. So I do definitely overeat for the inactivity that I used to expend myself in, if you could call it that, just kind of sitting around. But some of that was depression and some of it was injury because, my shoulder is so much better. I mean, it's, yeah, it's a lot better. I get stronger every day. I can get dressed and do my hair almost every day now. I mean, some days are bad pain days because I overdid it, or I went to physical therapy. But most days I'm pretty much okay. I'm still on the sofa though. That's it's probably going to be for another month, like the doctor said, because maybe again the 95 pounds, 94 now, the 94 pounds of extra weight that I carry is a lot for one arm to lift up. When I lay down flat, I try it every once in a while and it doesn't work very well. It's a struggle to get back up. So I can't imagine doing that in the middle of the night when I have to use the bathroom and I'm half asleep and exhausted. So this sofa reclines, thank goodness. I just recline it and sleep here, but it's getting old. So I wish I wasn't 95 or 100 pounds overweight when I started the surgery so that recovery was that much harder. So again, anyone out there that's overweight, I admonish you to work on it when you're like able to, like now, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, really, you don't. You never know what's going to pop up in your life. I had no idea that I was going to have this shoulder surgery or that I was going to be in such, oh, pain trying to recover from it. Just trying to get up to use the bathroom is difficult. So anyway, this is what I ate at the Indian buffet. Oh, I just love Indian food. They can do like the most amazing things with vegetables. Now, I do want to say that that's a lot of food, and I didn't set out to eat that much food. That wasn't my intention. What happened was that that like turquoise colored plate on the side of the water glass, that's I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's a dosa, something like that. It's like a flat pancake made with bean flour. It has no gluten, I asked. One of the chefs speaks a little more English. I asked him and he said it's like they make it from scratch, the batter. They take beans and like grind them up and then they mix it with water and egg or something. And it makes like a pancake batter. And I don't know if you could see, but they put onion and tomato and cilantro in it and cook it right in it. You see those red flakes? And then that little pile is like boiled potatoes with curry and ginger and peanuts. It's delicious. I like those, but they're a little carby. So I haven't been getting them, but the people at this restaurant are just so warm and friendly and welcoming that when they have a lot of time, because sometimes there's a big long line for people that ask for it, they just make me one to be hospitable and welcoming, and I appreciate it. I can't say no, thank you. I'm dieting. I always take it and eat it because it's good. The only reason why I try not to eat too many of them is because it's high carbs, the beans, and I'm watching my carbs, but they're delicious. And when I used to get it every time, because I go to this place like once a week, as often as I can, because it's so healthy. I was telling them not to make it too spicy because their food is delicious, but it's a little spicy for me. So that kind of tones down the rest of the food I get. And then in the plate that I did pick in front of it is like just mostly rice and lentils. And in that little bowl is their yogurt sauce that has tomato and cucumber and cilantro in it and onions. And I used that to kind of, again, also tone down the spice in the rest of the dishes because their food is spicy, but spicy food is supposed to be good for weight loss. And so I love this place. They could take vegetables and make it delicious. Try to see if you could see. So I have that's rice. That white stuff on the big plate is mostly rice. And then I have two different kinds of lentils underneath it. And on the other side of the bowl is just some pieces of chicken. And then that square plate on the other side of the water glass is just fresh, raw vegetables, a few potatoes, cilantro, onions, tomato, and a couple of chickpeas you can see in the top. It's all fresh. I didn't eat all of it. That's a lot of food. I ate about half of everything. I ate all of the raw vegetables though. I always eat that. But the food here is so spicy and so good that I have to tone it down quite a lot. And I use a mixture of the fresh raw vegetables and the yogurt sauce. And then I had the dosa and the potatoes. So it was really good. That I ate until I like couldn't eat anymore. And I don't think that's good to do in general. I try not to eat till I'm stuffed. That's another technique I've been working on. But the food is so delicious. It's hard not to eat too much. And also I'm thinking, well, it's mostly vegetables. I mean, the rice is a little carby, but most of the food there is, vegetables that they make taste really good. I had a few pieces of chicken. I'm not a big meat eater, as I've said before. I mean, by choice. Like even if I had no weight cholesterol issues, I wouldn't eat that much meat. I think my cholesterol issues is from all the cheese and cream cheese and stuff I eat because I never said I didn't like dairy. I said I'm not a big meat person, but I am a big dairy person, which I have to work on. So I was so full from all that good food, all that real food, whole foods, that I really wasn't that hungry the rest of the day. And I've shared that I have to eat pretty much 3 times a day because I have medication that needs to be taken with food 3 times a day. I haven't talked too much about it. Most of it is blood pressure food or blood pressure medicine, but one of them is a medicine that I take because I have a tumor on one of my adrenal glands and it messes with my hormone levels. So I take a medication for that that has to be taken with food. And at that same meal, I also have to have potassium pills because another thing it does, the tumor, is it messes with my electrolyte balance. So, not to sing a poor me kind of song like everything that's wrong with me, but again, my issue in being honest and open about these things is that a lot of people get overweight because of health problems. I just think that we have to take away the stigma. Yeah, some people are overweight just because of poor eating habits, but most people that are overweight that I found have pain issues, back issues, depression, mental health issues. There's some depression, there's other issues that they have, maybe some PTSD, anxiety. I just I don't like fat shaming in the society. I guess because I've suffered so much of it from my family. My family is like so judgmental. I mean, it's been very painful for me. I don't get a lot of support from them. I really just kind of get shame from them. They'll just look at me funny and say, "Wow, your stomach's getting really big. You should do something about that." And I'm like, "What?" Did you really just say that to me? Like, I don't know. Like, I just look in the mirror and can't see that and feel embarrassed and shamed and depressed. You really don't think I see it? You really think you need to bring it to my attention? Really? But I don't say that because it doesn't help because people, and that's my message that I want to get across. People treat you like that for their own issues. You really don't have to take that shame onto yourself. There's some part of them that they're ashamed of, that they feel out of control with, that they feel helpless in front of. So it kind of behooves them to try to help other people with their problems because it's so much easier than handling your own problems because you don't have to do the effort. When you're telling other people how to fix their problems, you just have to run your mouth. Talk is cheap. You don't have to do the hard work to face your own issues and your own problems because that takes real work. It's so easy to find someone that you think is worse off than you and tell them how to fix themselves. And that's why I'm so against fat shaming and why we need to bring it out in the open because I don't advocate when someone tries to shame you. So, well, what about you? Look at this, which I admit I've done out of desperation. I've looked at them and found some obvious physical flaw. Not that it's that hard. Most people don't look like Angelina Jolie, okay? You can always pick something out and make it sound helpful. Like, oh, I'm ashamed to say what I said, but this person was just always making the nastiest comments to me. Like that, just like, I mean, they have actually said that to me. They just look at me and say, "Wow, you look like you're pregnant. Have you been to the doctor? Because there's something, wow, you must be eating a lot of junk food because your stomach's really huge. It's out of proportion. I know you're overweight, but it's out of proportion to the rest of you." Yeah, I had someone say that to me, someone in my family. Ouch. So when I was a little younger, because I've been overweight for 20 years, I said to this person, wow, you really need to get some sunscreen because your skin's getting a little wrinkly. You should go to the doctor because, that's a skin cancer risk. I'm not proud of that. I'm not. That's a low point in my life to lower myself to their level of poor mental health because I knew better. I think that's that's a key. They did it because of poor mental health, because of, rejecting a problem that they had, refusing to acknowledge a problem that they had, sticking their head in the sand, and instead looking for cheap shots at someone else. They didn't know better. I knew better. I know what they were doing. And I just struck back to get them to think about what they were doing, but it didn't work because, people, when they have mental health issues, you can't talk them into realizing it. They're in denial because they have deep-seated, entrenched problems. And saying something hurtful is not going to snap them out of that. It's just not. So I regret saying that. It didn't help the situation. It just just turned me into an emotional bully, and I didn't feel very good about myself. So since then, I have resolved to meet these fat shaming comments with, I guess, what I would call firm compassion, to not take the shame upon myself, but at the same time, not strike back. Usually the only way I can do that is to say, you know what? I appreciate your concern, but I do have a doctor that I'm working with, and my doctor suggested that I focus on solutions that I actually do, not talk about. That seems to be the most helpful. And also, that's gotten better. I mean, that's something that causes me deep shame, the fat that I have. I mean, really, really some profound shame. And I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that in different ways. I mean, I don't think most people have a family like I do, because my family, their culture is not from this country. So they haven't been raised the, PC way. They'll say anything to anybody. And it's under the guise of being helpful, as they say, well, if your family doesn't tell you, who will tell you? As if you need someone to tell you that you're overweight. That's what gets, that's what I don't get. As if you didn't know. Well, no, when I go to the store and I have to get a extra, extra, extra large and it's tight, no, that doesn't cue me into that I'm overweight. No, when I look in the mirror and I have 3 chins, no, I don't think that that means I'm overweight. I mean, do they really think that you don't know and you need someone to tell you, your flaws? And that's not even getting into the, opposite sex relationships I've had with people that felt that I needed to hear about my flaws in great detail. Um, I have had quite a few people ask me if I was pregnant, and that's terribly hurtful. And I saw a sitcom once, what was it, Designing Women, where one of the women is pregnant and somebody asks her about it and she doesn't like the person, so she says, "No, I'm just very overweight." It's supposed to be a joke because she is pregnant. So that's what I say. I just say, "No, I'm just fat," and smile and let them stew in their embarrassment to make that. Although some women really don't mean anything by it. I don't get that too much from my family and friends anymore because I am 52 and I've only had one child. So, if I've managed to prevent pregnancy of this long, I'm probably not pregnant.